Now I'd like to introduce you to the Chaordic stepping stones. As I mentioned, this is a methodology used at the Art of Hosting network, a network of facilitators helping to foster change and meaningful dialogue. So the Chaordic stepping stones has many factors or many steps to building or designing a process, especially participative processes that involve multi-stakeholder, that involve people with different interests, different values, different ways of analyzing data. When we are going through these stepping stones, through this path, we first look at the need. In the case of the Yes Brazil project, we were attending to the need of building technical information that could allow the Brazilian government to take better informed decisions on climate change and while building policies for climate change. We step into the purpose, and the purpose is the what for. So from the present to the future, what is the kind of change or impact I'm trying to make with this process? And the purpose here, what for would these people get together to build technical information, was to build a report or a study that would present 2030 mitigation scenarios for Brazil that would bring an analysis of social and economic implications of these scenarios. That was the novelty, like that had never been done before, that we would be looking at the implications for GDP, for international trade, for income distribution, for consumption of families, looking at different mitigation scenarios. Then we go into the principles, and the principles are values or are guidelines for the process as a whole. As a MAPS project, the Brazilian version of the MAPS concept, we chose the same three principles, so legitimacy, credibility, saliency, and we interpreted it in a way that would make sense for the Brazilian context. So we kept the same principles, and every decision we made along the process, whom to invite, how many meetings to have, what kind of information to consider, would we go to peer review, who are the stakeholders we need to engage at the government level, and also the engagement strategy for presenting the results. We also always followed these principles. Then we go into people. And the people here is who are those that could promote the results of the study, could build this together, that would be diverse enough to bring all the intelligence that was required to analyze Brazil 2030, socioeconomic implications, mitigation pathways. We included different sectors, all kinds of sectors, so we had 5 sectoral groups building this scenario. So land use change, agriculture was one. Waste, transport, energy, and industry. And also a 6th group was looking at residential emissions. So in those thematic groups, we included people from the private sector, from the government, sometimes from state governments, not only federal, from NGOs, from academia, from trade unions. And this diversity was exactly what brought the results and the discussions and the dialogical leadership that we needed to create something new and innovative. And the concept is, how can I define this project, this participatory process, in one sentence? So for us, our way to define Project Yes Brazil was, it is a safe environment for people with different kinds of knowledge to sit together, discuss and build climate change mitigation scenarios for Brazil 2030 while looking at its social and economic implications. What do we mean by limiting beliefs? What are the kind of beliefs that could prevent people from giving their best? So we took time as a team to discuss that. One of the limiting beliefs we acknowledged was, I cannot trust these people. Because we had such diversity in the room that many of these stakeholders had history. Of course, this history could be positive and negative. So by acknowledging that, we could meet people where they were. Another limiting belief is, I don't feel heard, or these scenarios do not represent me. Or this exercise is not going to go anywhere. It's going to be another study that will end up at the shelf. So when you're at the step, you want to look at all the things that people could be thinking and not saying that could prevent them from fully collaborating to build something together. So in our case, our structure involved sectoral groups, as I said, the 6 groups, including residential emissions that sometimes collaborated with the same group as waste management. Other times they analyzed things separately. So we thought of a sectoral approach that was part of the structure. Another part of the structure was having a scenario building committee, having technical committee that did all the research and the modeling, having a team that was doing facilitation and articulating with stakeholders, and having a team that was coordinating and doing logistics in the project. So those were the structures we used. That was the day-to-day thing, like how would these meetings look like? Would we always be in plenary? Would we break out in small groups? How would we prepare the meetings? How much information would we share beforehand? And the practices are also what we were innovating in terms of like the participatory processes or stakeholder engagement literature. And that's exactly here that the dialogical leadership came about. We would always have free-flowing conversations in small groups. We would have presentations in plenary of all the results. And we would foster collaboration among the scientists or the academics doing the modeling and the scenario building committee as much as possible. Harvests are all the steps and practices and measures we take to make record of what's being done, the decisions being made, the results. So Harvest is a way to document the process, is a way to make sure that all the information and discussions happening are on paper, are being organized and shared. We had a way to deal with sensitive information that people shared with us, and also having a final report that would represent everything that was analyzed and built. And our final report is a 600 pages report, but we also have a technical summary. We also have a summary for decision makers and a package for engagement and sharing of results with the larger society.